Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Puccini's Tosca with conductor Arvo Volmer, which I saw at the Estonian National Opera House. I was really excited to check out this particular production of Puccini's Tosca because Heli Veskus and Luc Robert were singing the roles of Tosca and Cavaradossi respectively, and striking again as Baron Scarpia was Rauno Alp, who I also saw 5 days ago as the Dutchman. But before I get to them, I will gladly talk about the production first. What I noticed about this production was that even though it did keep to the entire score as well as the entire story of Tosca, the backgrounds didn't really change from scene to scene as it maintained that type of barrack-like look, as if to foreshadow Cavaradossi's upcoming execution and, of course, Tosca's death by leaping off the parapet. Even though I really would have loved to see a lot of set changes from act to act, I still have to give credit to the lighting work, as it managed to be very dramatic in every single act. And the biggest highlights for me definitely have to be the Te Deum as well as the murder scene, in which, after Tosca stabs Scarpia, he ends up landing on the table as if to symbolize that he is basically Tosca's sacrificial lamb in order to avenge the suffering that not only she has to go through, but also what Cavaradossi had to go through in terms of being tortured and interrogated in such a harsh manner. So here she was making this type of blood sacrifice in order for that act of avenging Cavaradossi come to life. But it's too little too late, as once Cavaradossi ends up being shot dead, Tosca ends up running up the barracks, throws all of her gold and money before she ends up leaping up the parapet, thus pausing in midair, which managed to be quite the dramatic effect. As if that particular moment was to show that, yes, she might have done that, but that hanging in midair pause was probably meant to keep that anticipation rising until it reaches that apex. So overall, I was quite intrigued with this production. Even though it could have used a lot more scenery changes, I still have to say that it was dramatic in its own special way. And I was also just as hypnotized by all of the costumes, which looked absolutely vivid, magnificent, and vibrant. And now we get to the singers, starting off with Heli Veskus as Tosca. I was quite intrigued with the huge and absolutely wide-ranging repertoire this particular soprano had. She seems to sing the lyrical soprano roles of Mimi and Micaela, and even the spinto soprano roles of Aida, Desdemona, and Elisabeth from Tannhäuser, to the true dramatic soprano parts of the likes of Tosca and Venus from Tosca and Tannhäuser, respectively. I mainly knew her through the repertoire she has specialized in, and I was quite intrigued with what she had to offer, and hearing and seeing her as Tosca was quite a blast. She was absolutely dedicated in her craft as a singing actress. She threw herself into the role really well, and she managed to have a lot of voice to sing this part, especially when she makes the attacks on the high notes. Sure, there were times where her chest tones were kind of hollow, even though there were moments in which her chest tones were there, and she could have used a whole lot more coordinated chest voice in a lot of the lines that she has been singing. Because who I have in my ears as the great Toscas are the likes of Dame Eva Turner, Dusolina Giannini, Helena Braun, Astrid Varnay, Birgit Nilsson, Renata Tebaldi, Maria Callas, Ludmila Dvorakova, Amy Sheward, Shirley Verrett, Nadezhda Kniplova, Grace Bumbry, and of course, Gena Dimitrova and Elena Suliotis, who had such excellent chest voice coordination and who also had such fine temperaments to embody that particular role. With Heli Veskus, even though she did a fine job embodying Tosca, I still feel that she needs to take great advantage of those chest tones, and her voice could be a whole lot stronger, a whole lot mightier, and a whole lot more present if she keeps on working on those chest tones, ensures that her head voice and chest voice are well coordinated, and of course, ensure that everything about her voice is all beefed up. And the one area that certainly needs a lot of beefing up so that her high notes will end up becoming richer and fuller are the chest tones. And more than anything, she also has to make sure that her larynx remains low, especially when she hits those high notes. Regardless of what caveats were there in her singing, I still have to give Heli Veskus a great amount of credit for what she was able to accomplish as this iconic opera diva. She was able to throw everything in, and for that, she managed to do an absolutely fine effort, thus making Tosca come to life in her passion and in everything that she was as a character. Luc Robert was alright as Cavaradossi. I mainly knew him through the repertoire he specializes in, mostly the full lyric tenor roles that he has been singing for many years. And while I did love the passion that he managed to give through Cavaradossi, even though he was kind of stolid in the first act, but nonetheless, in the later acts, he did get a lot better and more involved in his acting. I still feel that there was something lacking in the middle and the lower range of his voice, even though his high notes had such sheen and absolute focus to be found. And he did a fine job in the high note attacks. It's just that his voice could use a whole lot more coordination and a whole lot more core strength, because there were times that there was a wobble and an excessive tremolo that were rather present, which was kind of a shame because he did have pretty good material to work with. And if you know me and who my ideal voices for Cavaradossi are, you will automatically know that I love voices such as Galliano Massini, Mario del Monaco, Franco Corelli, James King, Gianfranco Cecchelle, and even Neil Shikoff, because of how much expression, passion, and great technique their voices had. And they were also great singing actors who also had that same amount of fire, passion, and absolute macho-ness found in their voice and in their stage presence. With Luc Robert, there were several times where I felt like he was kind of icy in his temperament, and I felt like he could be a lot more passionate and a whole lot more involved in the drama, and his E Lucevan le Stelle could have used a lot more work and a lot more vocal cord strength, chest voice coordination, and a whole lot more melodrama, because who I have in my ears as two of the most exceptional singers of E Lucevan le Stelle, as well as that Vittoria Vittoria scene, are the likes of Mario del Monaco and Franco Corelli, true dramatic tenors whose voices had that ring, ping, fullness, richness, virility, macho-ness, and that absolute drive that I love in Menia Cavaradossi. I'm pretty sure that Luc Robert could be a lot better if he continues to develop his technique in the right way, such as polishing his chest tones, ensuring great chest coordination, as well as being a lot more involved in the drama. Even in spite of the excessive vibrato in his voice, Rauno Elp really stole the show as Baron Vitellio Scarpia, with that tall presence of his and that absolute devilish virility that he had, and that darkness and richness that I love in a true dramatic baritone. He was able to embody that role with menace and absolute force, which made him stand out so superbly. Is he as great as, let's say, Tito Gobbi, Gian Giacomo Guelfi, Cornell McNeil, or many other great baritones of the past? Not really, because the great baritones of the past had a lot more core strength and had a lot more chest development and therefore sounded a lot fuller and richer and had the true capabilities of singing over an orchestra. However, with Rauno Elb, yes, he did his part in having his voice sing over an orchestra, but he could make his voice a lot better if he gets rid of that excessive vibrato or even that tremolo found in his voice and keep on working on the chest tones so that his voice can truly bloom. As it was, it still had that meatiness and it still had that virility that I love, but it could be a whole lot better. Nevertheless, he still managed to steal the show from everyone's feet, and he stood tall and strong as a fine singing actor. There was even some equally fine singing to be found in René Zoom's absolutely solid and pretty dashing sacristan, even though his voice could use a whole lot more depth, strength, virility, fullness, and a lot more chest coordination so it will sound fuller and richer in the lower register. Raiko Rolik's athletic and absolutely dashing Angelotti, who may have a solid sounding voice, but it could also use a lot more depth and richness. But still, he did a fine job embodying this role and in everything that he had in terms of passion. Mert Jakobsson's imposing and absolutely mesmerizing Sharonne, who managed to make even the Scarpia look and sound like a midget, all thanks to that imposing presence and that equally imposing voice. Mart Madiste's characterful and absolutely lyrical Spoletta, Are Kodasma's finely tuned jailer, and Mark Eazaru's lovingly sung shepherd boy. So overall, the singing was really well done, especially when you have a pro such as Rauno Elb stealing the show and Heli Veskus giving it her all in making Tosca come to life as a character. On top of that, this was a fine collaborative effort from all the singers, and I can tell that there was a lot of great teamwork to be found, and the results were really good all the way through. So here's hoping that all of them manage to keep strengthening their own voices and keep on polishing their techniques so that their voices can reach their full potential. And the conducting done by Arvo Volmer was really hot-blooded, strong, and absolutely mesmerizing from beginning to end. He made sure that he kept the tension pumping. And he also made sure that everyone in the orchestra stayed well coordinated and also ensured that everyone went together. And of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Estonian National Opera House were absolutely amazing from beginning to end. So overall, with a production that was really good, plus some really fine singing accomplished by the likes of Rauno Elb and Heli Veskus, as well as some equally great conducting by Arvo Volmer, tonight's performance of Tosca was absolutely amazing from beginning to end. And I'm pretty sure that with much more development from the main singers, they can truly reach their full potential. And for those of you who saw this particular production of Puccini's Tosca at the Estonian National Opera House, what'd you think of it? Did you really enjoy the production, even though it could use a lot more scenery? Did you feel that the singers were all on their A game? Was there a singer in particular that really caught your eye? Or did you feel like there were some things about the production and the singers that stuck out like a sore thumb? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my review of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, also at the Estonian National Opera House. So until then, happy holidays, everybody!